Hi guys, my name is Dr. Lee Sung. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Have you ever found yourself wondering whether what you're experiencing is actually hypersexuality or just a naturally high sex drive that falls within normal human variation? Today we're going to talk about this in a clear and simple way, without confusion and without judgment, because a lot of people go through this silently, and most of the time, they don't even know what's normal and what might actually need attention. Now, let's start with something basic. After sexual activity, most people experience satisfaction, not just physically, but mentally too. The urge slowly settles, the mind becomes calmer, and the body returns to a relaxed state. For some, this feeling lasts hours. For others, even days. And during that time, sexual thoughts move into the background, and life feels balanced again. But for some individuals, the experience is very different. They describe something like this. The urge comes back too quickly, sometimes within minutes, sometimes almost immediately, in some cases even during sexual activity itself. And it feels like satisfaction never fully stays or disappears far too quickly, leaving them stuck in a repeating cycle of wanting more. And this is where confusion begins. Because the question becomes, is this just a strong sex drive or something more than that? Something that is harder to control. To understand this properly, we first need to understand how sexual response normally works. It starts with an urge, something triggers it, a thought, an image, an emotion, attraction, or even stress. Then comes the behavior. That could be masturbation, partnered sex, or any sexual activity. After that comes satisfaction, where arousal decreases, tension is released, and the body feels fulfilled. And finally, there is a return to baseline, where sexual thoughts are no longer dominant and attention shifts back to normal life. Now, in most people, this cycle is balanced. There is desire, but also control. There is pleasure, but also closure. But in hypersexuality, or what is now medically referred to as compulsive sexual behavior disorder, this cycle changes. The urge becomes overwhelming. Not just strong, but intrusive. It doesn't feel like a choice anymore. It feels like something that must be acted on. Otherwise, there is internal tension, discomfort, or restlessness. And even after sexual activity, the relief may be very short-lived. Sometimes it returns almost immediately. Now, it's very important to separate two things here. A high sex drive is not a disorder. It is simply variation. Some people naturally think about sex more. Some enjoy it more frequently. And some prefer higher levels of sexual activity. But the key difference is control. In a high sex drive, a person still has control over their behavior. They can delay it, ignore it, or choose not to act on it. And it does not significantly disrupt their life, but in compulsive sexual behavior, the situation is different. There are three key patterns we often see. First, a strong preoccupation with sexual thoughts or urges that feel hard to ignore. Second, repetitive sexual behaviors, which may include masturbation, sexual encounters, or pornography use. And third, and most importantly, it begins to cause distress or harm. This could be relationship issues, emotional stress, problems at work, financial strain, or loss of control in daily life. According to the ICD-11 classification by the World Health Organization, this condition is described as a persistent inability to control intense sexual impulses over time, usually lasting at least 6 months or more. And it is not diagnosed based on frequency alone. It is diagnosed based on loss of control, repeated failed attempts to reduce the behavior, and continued engagement despite negative consequences, even when satisfaction is no longer present. Now, why does this happen? The answer is complex. Part of it involves the brain's reward system. Areas that respond to motivation. Pleasure and reinforcement can become highly sensitive to sexual cues. Dopamine plays a major role here. It reinforces behaviors that feel rewarding and strengthens the urge to repeat them. At the same time, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and self-control, the prefrontal cortex, may not regulate impulses effectively in the moment. So, the urge system becomes stronger while the control system becomes weaker. In some cases, hormonal factors like testosterone or neurological conditions or certain medications can also contribute. For example, Dopamine-increasing medications used in Parkinson's disease have been linked with increased sexual behaviors in some individuals. Brain injuries or seizure-related conditions can also affect regulation of impulses. But it's also important to understand something else. Not all cases are purely biological. For some people, emotional factors play a major role. Stress, anxiety, depression, or unresolved trauma can lead to sexual behavior being used as a coping mechanism, a temporary way to escape emotional discomfort. This is where two patterns often overlap. One is compulsivity, where sexual behavior is used to reduce internal tension or anxiety, and the other is impulsivity, where behavior is driven more by immediate reward and pleasure. Most people experience a mix of both. And over time, a cycle can form. Urge, behavior, temporary relief, guilt, and then the urge returns again. Repeating the loop. Now, a common question is, how much sex is too much? And the truth is, there is no fixed number, no universal limit, because frequency alone does not define a disorder. What matters is impact. If sexual behavior is not interfering with your life, your relationships, your work, or your emotional well-being, then it is usually within a healthy range. But if it begins to feel uncontrollable, distressing, or disruptive, then it becomes something worth paying attention to. Now, the good news is this. Compulsive sexual behavior is treatable, and many people improve significantly with the right support. Therapy is often the first step. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps identify triggers, thoughts, and behavior patterns, and teaches how to break the cycle. Acceptance and commitment therapy helps people change their relationship with urges instead of trying to fight them constantly. In some cases, medications like SSRIs may help reduce intrusive sexual thoughts and improve impulse control. And when there are underlying conditions like anxiety or depression, treating those often improves symptoms significantly as well. In more complex cases, a combined approach works best: therapy, lifestyle changes, and medical support when needed. But the most important message is this. This is not about morality. It is not about being good or bad. It is not about lack of willpower. It is about brain patterns, emotional regulation, and sometimes deeper underlying conditions. And most importantly, it is something that can improve with the right help. If you recognize yourself in this, or if any part of this resonates with you, you are not alone. There is support available, and things can get better with time and guidance. If you found this helpful, take a moment to subscribe, share this with someone who might benefit from it, and continue learning about your health, because understanding your body and mind is the first step toward taking control of them. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.